Land ownership in Uganda has to date remained a contentious issue affecting mainly women and children in the rural villages. Although Article 31, Section 1 of the 1995 Constitution provides for land equity for all persons, women have remained the most deprived, discriminated and have been denied rights to own land both ancestral, before marriage, in marriage and out of marriage. The 1995 Constitution provides two land administration systems, namely the traditional system, which is governed by customs and norms of given communities, and two, the centralized statutory system governed by written laws. But unfortunately, all these have not supported women to own land traditionally, and yet over 70% of women in Uganda are engaged in agriculture, mainly food production, which is the backbone of the country's economy, and less than 20% of them have control over their agricultural output, while nationally, only about 17% of the women own land in their own right through purchase. This means majority of women, especially in the rural areas, have continued to painfully suffer discrimination and poverty, both in marriage and their ancestral homes, due to cultural norms and lack of effective laws that deny women to own land, let alone the lack on implementation of existing laws. As such, the Women's Land Rights Movement, a platform that brings together government ministries, civil society organizations and the academia that have a component of land in their work, and those whose core mandate is own land, was born in 2010 with the aim of enhancing the quality of life of women in Uganda through tenure security.
To introduce our moderator.
This second Women's Land Rights Conference was held to reflect on the previous minimum demands, allow rural women to interact and share experiences with the elite and urban women to allow them have a common voice on the land rights issues, and also rejuvenate women's movement on land nationally. The conference was held under the theme, Attaining 30% of Registration of Land Rights for Women by 2025.
We are gathering here for one thing, tenure security for women in Uganda. Tenure security for women in Uganda.
We have worked so hard in our numerous organizations to ensure that the lives of women regarding land is enhanced. Yes, we have achieved a lot, but not yet the capacity that we need. We have to continuously fight and ensure that women achieve 50-50 registration of land, that is gender equality on women land rights. But we thought that we need a slow move. Let's start with achieving 30% by 2025. A lot of work needs to be done. We need to bring the men on board.
At the conference, different speakers shared experiences and statements that call for the need for women and girl child to equally own land like any other persons. The Ministry of Lands as well as the Ministry of Gender recognizes the importance of women's issues, including the rights to own land and inherit property.
Women suffer discrimination in all matters relating to land use and ownership. These discriminations range from lack of rights to food production, limited or no decision-making power over land use, and division of labor along gender lines. We need to create a broader awareness of the problem in order to generate pressure to bring out corrective action, also sufficient broad-based understanding of the problem to make corrective action which is politically acceptable.
We encourage women to increase participation in these key decision-making bodies that will be making decisions that affect you as community members. What we're doing as a ministry and the approach we have is to tackle, as is very clear to you, land as an economic asset to empower women.
Landholding community members grant different but not inevitably lesser rights to women than to men. So in terms of this conference, and if we talk about attaining 30% registration of land for women by 2025, it doesn't completely make sense in a context where neither men nor women own land, but where the community holds the land in trust for themselves and for future generations.
Concerned with the rights of women, the Ministry of Lands developed a national gender strategy on land to address women's land issues.
Without equal access to land, women of today may really find it difficult to grow food, as I have said, as they may wish. Because the plants they have a different place, the husband has a different place. If our journey is to attain 30% recordation of land rights for women in Uganda by 2025, then we should put in more effort as in observing the law and the policies and all the acts that have been put in place, so that we keep on reminding the public and the lawmakers or enforcers that there is this in place. But like I have already said in so many forums, that women, there is a serious need, serious call, and there's still a long journey to empower women to be able to utilize the land in case they get it. Because a woman who is not empowered, even if we give her the 30% of the land, she will not utilize it. She will not even have capacity to keep it.
This now calls for massive sensitization of all Ugandans to understand issues of women's land rights. The Ministry of Gender and Social Development is also working out strategies that will empower women economically to ensure that gender-based violence in homes is eliminated.
We have a new program, the Uganda Women Entrepreneurship Program, that is providing affordable credit to women and looking at the marginalized women, the women who are not able to access other formal avenues of credit for business, for entrepreneurship and development. The approach is that women are already doing very many tremendously wonderful things to empower themselves, to support their families, to conduct through agriculture, but we want a program where you can get the loan without paying interest, so it's affordable and more accessible to the majority of women.
At the conference, some of the women shared their experiences on how they are deprived of their rights to own land or inherit property. These now say it is high time the law was revised, including cultural laws, especially customary norms and practices scrapped to allow them inherit and own land as an overall right.
The problem of making wills, I may not say that men from West Nile are illiterate, but they don't have interest in making wills. And that is a problem. When a man dies and there's no will at all, then administration becomes very difficult for the widows. So as per this conference, I think there is still a chance for women who are not yet widows to be on the safe side.
I own this land that I bought, but the communal land from home, no, they don't allow women to own land. But actually, as we have got the knowledge now, we can go step by step to make them also understand that women can also own land.
Like for example, the Teso tradition calls for us traditionally to be married as women. But the unfortunate part of it in our marriages, you begin with engaging with a man, then finally you end up cohabiting without formalizing the marriage. But it is something that is too unfortunate. Sometimes when a spouse dies, problems come. There is nowhere that woman can go and stay. There is no what to earn.
This conference has been really timely, but in my grassroots level in Karamoja, it is really very difficult. I'm now wondering how our grassroots women will have access to land, title in land, imagine, and some are going to be digital. Can you imagine the grassroots women may not know anything, and then we are wondering how this thing will reach the rural grassroots women in the and they understand. Myself, at least, I'm a bit empowered, but I'm so worried of my rural woman who is in the village, who doesn't know our rights over the land, and then tradition also is really too high there.
Actually, owning land in Karamoja is very difficult. They will think that you are a wizard who has gone there as a woman to own land. Maybe now, as they have introduced us the system of women's land, we are going to sensitize our community also to feel that women also are very important for land. This is actually a new starting point for women to be sensitized on land. Otherwise, you know, marriage culture is the one which has taken a lot of power. Men in Karamoja feel that they are a power of everything. Because of the marriage, the culture, they are marrying women with a lot of cows. So they feel that women are part of their property. So for you, a woman to stand that that's land for me, it's very impossible.
Although cultures differ with their norms respected, the issue of women owning land or inheriting property as a girl child or a married woman remains a disturbing challenge that cuts across many tribes in the country. The conference aimed at laying strategies to attaining the 30% registered land ownership for women and to ensure their right to land in Uganda is realized.
It's not easy. Even we as legislators are suffering. We have this country which is so patriarchal. Men tend to assume everything is for men, and women seem not to have anything for themselves. We have these members of parliament who are supposed to be subordinate also to their husbands. Yes, and you'll find that if she owns land, then she owns it with the man. Or if she buys land, then she buys it in the name of the husband, or in the names of the brother, or in the names of the uncle, or in the names of the son. It's like the woman also doesn't have confidence in herself, thinking at an appropriate time she owns this land, she has registered it in her own names, she may even live it. But especially for the legislators, they tend to use the politics to think that when you have come to parliament and you own land in your own names, then it's like you're insubordinate, you are not respecting your own husband. But we are saying no, we are not insubordinating them, we are not abusing their rights as men, but also as the law provides that land belongs to the people, the woman is also people.
It is also an eye-opener that people are suffering out there in silence. People only even need a platform and an opportunity to voice their issues out. And I do believe this was the platform because it was speaking to the root causes of the problems we are trying to deal with. So the job is enormous and the actions are required from each and everybody of us.
Customary laws, especially cultural norms, have for a long time deprived women from exercising their rights to own land, which leaves them discriminated and treated as possessions, especially in marriage, where they are only discarded after use.
As women, know that you can own property jointly with your husband. Things have changed. I give for you an example of that case. It's called Julius Rabinumi vs. Hope by Hibisong. That case was, it came from High Court. It went to the Court of Appeal and also reached the Supreme Court. And at the Supreme Court, it is the man who was challenging the decision of the Court of Appeal, saying that the decision of the Court of Appeal that his wife was entitled to an equal share of the properties they had in their marital home was bad. So but the Supreme Court held that no, that you as a woman, if you're married to a man, you have a marital home, there are ways you contribute to the home, and therefore you're entitled to an equal share in the properties that you've accumulated or in the assets that you have in your home. Dominate your husband.
As police, we mainly deal with crime. We don't deal with the civil cases. But because of the criminal nature and activities, this is why the Land Protection Unit was established. And most of the conflicts that arise out of land ownership, the people who are affected most are women. So, as police, what do we do? And in any case, who owns land or what are land rights? Article 237 of the Constitution stipulates that land in Uganda belongs to the citizens. And it is not discriminative here. Women are citizens of Uganda.
Three things that we ask. specifically that the succession and amendment law be completed, which would guarantee equality for under inheritance and succession, because that's where most people access rights to land. The second is that the operational guidelines for land administration should be gendered, such that a woman can easily, her rights can be included from the very start of the survey process to the issuance of the title. Right now, it's not a gendered process, and we ask that that be implemented. We are glad that there is a gender strategy in the Ministry of Lands, but that needs to be translated into the day-to-day work of ministry staff and of local governments. The other is to deal with the whole question of customary tenure, where over 80% of our population is. We have a good policy that puts in place gender equality on customary land, but that hasn't yet been translated into law. So work towards making a customary tenure law will go a long way in supporting over 80% of this population.
Esther Obaikol is chairperson Women Land Rights Movement and founding director LANDnet Uganda. She says the national land policy is a great achievement, but women will still hold government accountable over the registration of women to own land.
We want to hold government accountable to ensure that we increase the registration of rights of women. How many women actually have their rights to land documented? And we embraced the Africa Union Declaration of a minimum of 30% documented rights in the names of women by 2025. When we talk about documented rights, many argue that women don't need land. Why? Especially customary tenure. Why should we be talking about women owning land? But ownership, one, is achievable in our legal framework, and we want to see how that happens, and we want to see that increase. But also under customary tenure, it means that there are different rights that accrue to women, and the women must be able to stand up and defend and claim those rights that they're entitled to. So
land rights activists say these are backward discriminatory laws that must be dealt with to allow women exercise their rights and own land freely.